Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Reality in the Raw, Uncut, Unfiltered, and Unhinged. Sorry we're about 15 minutes late because we had some technical issues, but we thank you for sticking with us. Uh, Again, we want to welcome you. It's Tuesday evening, April 12th, and I think we're on episode 5 of episode 6 of Reality in the Raw, Uncut, Unfiltered, and Unhinged. And we have a guest today. Before we introduce our guest, we're going to remind you of the rules of engagement. And our mission, as we always say, is to invite and to encourage healthy discourse about relationships and other life issues in an effort to inform, to educate, and to find practical solutions to help people navigate through life and through difficult circumstances. Now, though the topics may be often controversial and thought provoking, well, we hope they are, our intention is to create an environment of love, understanding, peace, forgiveness, and restoration to those who would listen and engage. This is not a platform for embarrassment, for airing out personal differences, for lambasting people you might dislike, or defaming the character of any individual. So on this platform, we will entertain no rudeness, no ugliness, no toxicity, no bitterness, no hate, no vitriol, no disrespect to myself, to the guests, or anyone else who may call in or chime into the show. So we want to keep this platform clean, jovial, energetic, with lots of love and fun so we can all get something positive from it. Again, you're invited to reality. You tune into reality in the raw, uncut, unfiltered, and unhinged. This is episode 6. And I think we're talking about probably final uh, topic of BOAZ. Why would BOAZ want YOAZ? But tonight we're talking about, is it either BOAZ or NOAZ? And I'll explain what that means. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also invite others to subscribe so we can blow up this thing. Also, we invite you to call in. I think it's through email. Is that correct, producers? You can call in through email and chime in. And if you have any questions, you can. There's the live feed available so you can ask questions and we'll attempt to answer all your questions or as many as we can. Tonight we have a special guest. We know her. Her name is Scylla Lott, and we're going to allow her to introduce herself. But Scylla, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Please introduce yourself. Tell us what's your name, where you're from, some of your background, and we want to know all the fun stuff about you. Whether you're in school, you work, and all the stuff that comes with being who Scylla is.
Yes, sir. So my name is Scylla Lott. I'm an adjunct professor and I'm a faculty librarian at Tallahassee Community College. I am a doctoral student at Florida State University. I am also a published author and I am a mother of 2 beautiful boys.
Good. Wow. She has quite a resume. And that I know she's putting it mildly, but she has quite a resume. Let me ask you, what are you doing your PhD in?
I am doing it in instructional systems and learning technologies. It's a mouthful, but I'm specializing in higher education and online learning. So how to teach in an online classroom.
So you come with quite a resume. You have 2 boys.
I do.
What are their ages, might I ask?
They are 8 and 7.
8 and 7.
Yes, sir.
So, well, I know, but I'm going to ask you. You've been married.
I have
before,
been.
but
yes,
now
sir.
you're not.
Correct.
So she's a single female with 2 beautiful kids. I have the pleasure of knowing them and working with them, reading with them, and making sure they do well in school. Because she's one of our church members, and she's been with us since we started. And we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to get into a topic: is it BOAZ or NOAZ. And what that means is BOAZ is the perfect man that females are looking for. And I'll tell you the truth, though most females may not admit it, but most females come with an idea of what they want. They have an idea. People might tell you, well, it's anything, but that's not true. Every female, especially single around your age, I would believe you between 25 and 35, let's say, if you don't want to reveal your age.
I'm okay with it.
You, but we agree that most females come with a kind of idea as to what they want.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of females do have a picture in their mind.
They have a picture in their minds of what they want, and women at that age, would you say they kind of fixed in their minds about what they want?
Oh yeah, they're fixating. He has to be tall, dark, and handsome. I've heard all the lists before.
Tall, dark, and handsome. Now, and we're just going to be honest and raw. As women get more opportunities and they grow, they get out of school, their salaries grow, their responsibilities grow, their leadership at work grows. They have all these opportunities, and usually it's coming to the point where they seem to have a little more opportunities than men. And the reason is because in times past, women had so few opportunities for advancement in the workplace. They were paid, even now, they paid lower. If they do the same work as a man, they remunerated at less value. And so throughout the ages, the system, governmental system, has tried to equalize not only pay, and we're not going to get into whether men are equal to women. Women were created equal to men. Etymologically and ontologically, we are equal. The roles are different, but throughout the ages, as women, started really advancing, and with technology and with everything else, women have what they have settled less. And so as their resume grows and the things they do grow, and they grow in leadership in the community and in their jobs, they want more. And I think you all think that you have more of a choice. You don't have to settle as our mothers and grandmothers used to have to settle. And so women think they have, and they do have more of a choice as to what they want. But, in economics, you can't just control that choice. It is normally said, and it's true, that women control access to sex and men control access to relationships. So here now, in the relationship marketplace, you have women knowing what they want, but in order for things to work, the demand has to meet the supply.
Right.
And so, we've talked,
Yes.
and you find less and less women get what they want. And so my question tonight is, to all women, and to you, of course, because we've had this conversation, is are you going to stay lonely if you don't get what you want, or are you willing to compromise?
Mhm.
Now, I have to say that there's a marked difference between compromising and settling. And so when women hear compromise, a lot of them think of settling. So let's talk about that. Let's mix it up a little bit and talk about that. And of course, if you all have questions, if you want to call in during the show, we're going to break and let you call in and mix that up a little bit. So talk to me about what you think about compromising and the kind of man you want, and what you're willing to compromise and what you're not willing to compromise.
Absolutely. So it's interesting you talk about this, because I did reflect a little bit earlier on the word compromise. I was in particular thinking about submission, and how a lot of women, especially young independent women, struggle with that whole notion of submitting to a head. And my thought I had was, in the scripture, it talks about two becoming one flesh. and I had a picture of like two circles, and if they're trying to become one circle, they're going to have to give up parts of themselves or parts of their identity, in the marriage at least. So, but before you get there, right, in the dating scene, or the whole part before you get to the marriage, absolutely, I think the woman has to, and I'm speaking from experience myself, because I'm not going to go out there and say that I have mastered this myself, but I do think the woman has to not settle, as you say, but learn the areas that she's willing to compromise in, because if she's looking for this perfect picture person, she may spend the rest of her life looking for the perfect picture person. So those are some of my initial thoughts that came up around the topic. But yeah.
And there are no perfect people. And the term submission has really taken on a negative connotation, and through the history, especially of the church, because if we read, and I know I'm controversial, but if we read through the historicity of religion, we will find that many of the church fathers and elders really did a bad job, in my opinion, and in my reading of what the word submission is. And I think a lot of men use it, not they use it as a tool of control. And I think you said the right term. If two people are going to come together, there has to be compromises in each with each person. And I think the term submission has had a bad connotation, because it almost seems that men think they don't have to give up anything, and the woman has to give up everything. And that's the wrong idea. Submission deals with the roles, and not necessarily, because everybody has to compromise, and if you want a relationship to work, unless you want it to be dictatorial and abusive. But let's talk about giving up. Now, there's several areas we want to talk about, because one of the things I listen to when women talk is they want the tall, dark, and handsome. And that actually becomes a standard for them. And tall is taller than, I want a man taller than I am. Most women, in my life, there's only two women I know. One, when I used to go to FAMU, that who liked a shorter man. I mean, she would. There was one girl. Her name was Shay, and there was a guy who liked her who was taller, and she didn't like him just because of his height.
Hmm.
And so women come with the concept of tall, dark, and handsome. And the first thing I want to say is, it rings danger to me, because it talks about the physical, and I understand that the first thing we see are physical, but the problem is too many women have been willing to compromise the values, and compromise long-term values in a relationship, like gentleness, kindness, the way a man treats them, the amount he makes, his ability to take care of his family, his ability to treat her like a woman, like a queen. And they give all these things up that are necessary. The ability to be a good father, to be a responsible father, and they give it up for the tall, dark, and handsome.
Right.
And so what happens is, when they meet the tall, dark, and handsome, they immediately fall for the tall, dark, and handsome.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time they get to realize that none of the other values that mean that the man doesn't have any of the other values that mean something to a marriage or a long-term relationship, they already fell in love with the tall, dark, and handsome.
Absolutely. Or they fabricate that those values are there. They put their blinders on, and they don't see any of the red flags, because they have that picture perfect person now in their mind, and they're just blind to everything else. But it's the inside stuff that we're really marrying. The outside stuff changes, and that'll change over time.
So I'm going to challenge you then.
Yes.
Because the outside stuff changes.
Yes.
I know nobody wants to marry a man who reaches up to his kneecap. That's unreasonable. Well, some women don't mind marrying dwarfs. I know my wife looks at a lot of these one of her favorite shows is, I think, is Little People. I don't even know what it is. And when I'm not home, she abuses the television. I come home, and when I look, it's Little People again. I'm like, oh Lord Jesus. And she likes that show. But on that show, there's a lot of relationship issues, and you get to find out that the tall, dark, and handsome thing doesn't always hold.
Right.
What is it about women that almost think they have such a choice in choosing, in getting who they want?
I think perhaps youth could play a part in here because they might think that they have plenty of time and plenty of other options, and maybe an inflated ego, let's be honest, and pride that causes them to see themselves as, well, of course I'm worthy and I'm deserving and I deserve better than X, Y, or Z.
Okay. And so when you're younger, you have time.
We
You
think.
you can mess around, but when you get to a certain age, 28, 30, 35, 40, time's running out. And my question is, if a woman of, let's suppose, if a woman of 30 is looking for tall, dark, and handsome, does she fit the bill of the tall, dark, and handsome man?
That's definitely food for thought. And if she doesn't, that's an area for reflection.
Because, and are you going to, so the question is, are you going to stay lonely and have no one? Are you going to settle for YOAZ if you don't get a BOAZ? And, for me, a lot of women say, well, why do I always attract these kind of people? Well, my idea is if a certain kind of person is always coming toward you, that's what you attract. And if you want to attract something different, you got to either do or be something different.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about that, because I know in conversations with you, you just, and I know I'm tough on you sometimes, but you like the
Yes.
normal female, like, I want to find somebody that I am attracted to.
Correct.
Talk to me about
Correct.
that. And we
Correct. Well, this is the reality in the raw, right? And so, just complete confessional, I have definitely backed off when I felt that I wasn't attracted to the person. And I mean, it's beyond, well, it's physical mostly, but I've struggled in that area. And I know we talked before about this, but yeah.
What does a woman do if she is not, quote unquote, physically attracted to a man? Could somebody jump in and tell me if there are any questions? But I want to, we want to, we be able to help answer this question. So what does a woman do if she's not physically attracted to a man? Because in back in the day, and my wife says that you don't have to be in other words, what is the I'm not, you should be at least somewhere attracted. You don't want to marry, somebody you just totally, the person turns you off. But what about physical attraction? And when you say physical attraction, what do you mean? And we're just talking about the physical part.
Right. So the physical part, the physical part is a fleshly reaction. It's that whole, and I'm just going to be honest with myself, can't speak for other women, but for me, if that is not there, I don't even want to be touched by the
When
man.
you say that is not there, what is that?
The physical attraction, the whole
what
flesh.
What makes up the physical attraction?
I don't know. It's just, it's there or not. It's I'll use the word chemistry. I know that might be controversial, but it's
not controversial.
So chemistry.
No,
perhaps.
chemistry is very important, but
yeah,
chemistry is different, and that's why I asked you to come, because I think honestly, I think you and a lot of women are going to really get something from this conversation. When you say chemistry is different from physical attraction, and I think a whole lot of women don't, from my standpoint, from my conversations, don't understand what they want.
correct.
I really don't think, just women naturally are not that concerned about physical attraction.
Right.
I don't think from, they say physical attraction,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it is the physical attraction. I think men are more concerned about the physical attraction. And I'm going to make you smile, because, you talk about physical attraction, but I don't think it's physical. I think it's chemistry.
Right.
And chemistry doesn't have to do a lot with physical attraction. It has to do with a few things. It's the man's energy, it's his aura, it's his ability to move a room,
Mhm.
his ability to bring calm without speaking, his ability to control his environment. Because what a woman really wants is safety. And
Yes.
no, physical attraction, um, I think is more the a man's his comportment, the way he holds himself.
Mhm.
That is what a woman is attracted to, rather than features.
Right. That you're saying it so perfectly when I'm really flashing back to myself because I have all these separate examples and in some cases you're right, it's not physical. I can see someone and recognize that they're physically attractive, but not be attracted to that person. And so I think you are correct. It is the chemistry, and I never thought about it in that way, but that safe environment
Because
and
chemistry has
energy.
everything to do with energy,
Yeah,
the energy you project.
right.
And so um uh, so women like you, like a man, probably not egotistical, but he understands himself, and when he controls the room, he provides a environment of safety where you can be yourself. And that's why I asked
Yes.
you to come
Yes.
on the show, because we've had several conversations and I wanted to break it down here,
Uh-huh.
because you will find a man that may not be physically appealing,
Yes.
but his whole general comportment,
Yes.
the energy, the vibe,
Oh yeah.
his whole, the way he has confidence but is not egotistical or prideful, that he knows himself.
Yes.
And that is what women term as physical attraction. But it's
Right.
not physical attraction. It's really I had a term for it before I came here. I wish somebody would shoot me a term. It's his general
General attraction.
no, it has to do with charisma, but his
Yeah.
aura.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I think, and there's a reason I said that,
Yes.
because you can teach that.
Hmm. You can teach the attraction.
Let's see if you can. Now, I want you all to chime in if you're there, online, or if you want to call in, that's fine. Can that kind of attraction, it's not physical attraction,
Mm-hmm.
can attraction be taught? I will answer. There's one question here or comment, but let me just think about you. When I met you,
Mm-hmm.
you were almost down on your luck. You were very timid. You knew who you were. You wouldn't look at anybody. You wouldn't talk to anybody. You would hide. You would run. You had zero confidence, zero faith, zero belief in yourself. And through time, through mentoring, you didn't, you had no, you would be the last person who would think that you would write a book.
Correct.
Process, mentoring, teaching, encouragement, fellowship give you that confidence. Now
Yes,
you're a
sir.
completely different woman.
Yes, sir.
I know men I work with who lacked confidence, didn't know who they were. I mean, I call it knock knee tiptoeing through the tulips, meaning they were shy and confident. And working with them, they became different men. My MD, my music director for the church, when I met him, I think he was modeling, but he lacked confidence. And I found out what his gifting was,
Mm-hmm.
what his interest was, and we just poured into him daily. He became a different man. I remember when he met he was with his little lady, and she didn't. I'm just going to tell the truth. That's my daughter, but she didn't really respect him. But through time, he started to become more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
His physical features didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
His height didn't change.
Right.
But what changed was the inside. And you see, it's something you can feel, it's aura. You can feel it on the out, you can feel it on the outside. And that's what women mean when they say they want a man who's attractive. He doesn't have to change his features, but can he look cleaner?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just dressing any kind of way, can he take care of himself? Can he be clean cut? That's just a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Can he look better? That's just self-care, what you all call self-care.
Right.
And a lot of men are not into self-care. Can he doesn't have to buy expensive clothes, but can he buy something that complements him? And we teach men that.
Mm.
And so uh, let me tell you, throughout church, I have seen women who dislike certain men. And after we worked with the men, they're like, wow, I like that man uh, because the very attractiveness of the man changed. If a man gets a different haircut, he looks different physically.
Mm-hmm.
If a man holds up his head instead of holding it down, he looks different physically. If he holds his shoulders up, it's square instead of so the attractiveness is not a change in features,
Mm.
but a change in confidence and understanding who you are. Again, this is reality in the raw, uncut, unfiltered, and unhinged. And we were telling you, men, you can step up to the plate. You don't have to change your features. You don't have to change your height. You don't have to change your job. But if you can understand who you are as a man and walk with confidence, then I think we as men will be less intimidated and insecure about these women who make more than us, who drive nice cars, and who are not willing to settle just because they're a woman and you are a man. Let's get this thing started. We got to. So,
Absolutely.
what do you think about that so far?
Yeah, so this is revelation for me, so I'm glad I'm here. I used to always think that the outside was the part that would change, and I used to have this mindset that the inside was fixed, at least from the men that I've observed, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
can control my inside changing, but I can't control him. So I used to take a timestamp of exactly where he was when I met him, and that was what I was evaluating. So I'm glad you're opening my mind to thinking about long
One of the
term.
things, one of the things we are troubled by is we say first impressions are lasting,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that phrase and mindset,
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying, we get stuck with that old picture, even when the person changes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be willing to expand our minds. We have just before we take a break, I want to look at this question. Miss Princess Thompson says, I feel women. I'm going to ask her. She's always on that show. I'm going to ask her to come on the show one of these days because she's always asking. No, you and you were scared. You thought it
Oh,
was going to be
oh
like,
yeah.
no, we don't do that. We're not rude. We just open up the conversation so we can all learn and we can all get better. So,
Yes.
in other words, you don't have to change. You can change a few concepts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to change your concept of who you want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to change your concept and compromise your values.
Right.
I just want you to understand what you mean so
Right.
that you can look at men differently. In other words, you can look at a man and say, I don't want him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not good enough. Or you can look at a man and say, the same man and say, I wonder how he would look with a nice haircut. I wonder how he would look if he was dressed in a suit or dressed better.
Right.
And so you start looking at things differently. You
Mm-hmm.
start looking for other things instead of just closing your mind off
Absolutely.
because you don't get what you want. Could what you want be created by just suggesting minor changes?
Absolutely. And I think that the woman needs to take time really reflecting on what it is that she means. Because, like you said, I don't think I could put words. I just knew there was a general, a general chemistry with some people and not with others, but I couldn't really pinpoint what those particular qualities were that I
Right.
was being attracted to. So,
And so there are men who actually, you can change a few things and become attracted to the female who's telling you, I don't want you, I'm not attracted to you. That's empowering to me.
yes,
This is
to me
empowering to
too.
me. Now, this so Princess said, when I'm not physically attracted, no, I feel women, thank you. I feel women likely end up alone searching for chemistry. Um, yes, Miss Princess, but she shouldn't have to search for chemistry. It should already be there. And so we have to teach our men to step up to the plate, stop being intimidated, and if the woman do all she can to become somebody, then you can too. This is not about bashing women. Because men think, like we say, because we think that women should submit. A lot of men think they can just come how they are, not make any changes, and the woman is supposed to make all the changes. That's not that's not
Right.
going to work for a relationship, because if you marry a man like that, eventually you're going to leave him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel women likely end up alone searching for chemistry. Well, no, I think they end up alone searching for the perfect man they want. But let me keep on reading. Many women have met their Boaz and they weren't attracted to him, nor did they feel chemistry when first meeting him. And you are so right. You are so right. And that's what we're saying. Don't just tune people off because they're not exactly what you want at the time you meet them. You might have met them on a bad day, on a rainy day. It's just like, sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
go to the store, you rush to the store. You're like, I'm going to go to the store early in the morning when nobody's there. My hair's not combed. You just
Oh
put,
no.
and then you meet somebody and they say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And in your mind, you say, "Oh, not today." And you give the worst response because of how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you might, or the person looks at you and might have missed their Ruth, their queen, because she was not adorned or dressed the way. So for me, I don't just discount people. I talk to everybody. Even when I was single, I talk to everybody, because you can never tell when somebody is facing a bad day, a bad week, or a bad season. And everybody faces those.
Right.
And yeah, we don't like people to see us in our bad seasons.
Right.
But it's good for us too, because nobody's perfect. And when you really get to know people and you get married and you get into relationships, you start to see the ugly parts.
Absolutely.
You never knew the person's feet smell until you got married. You're like, if I knew this, well, it's too late. So
Exactly.
then, Patricia Joseph, thanks for being on the show. We really enjoy you guys who come in. She said, when I'm not physically attracted to a guy, they are consistent. That needs to be rephrased, does it? When I'm not physically attracted to a guy, or they are consistent, I get to know them to see if we have anything in common. Now, this has gotten me in trouble. Patricia, you're right. When you're not physically attracted to a guy, they're consistent because guys like chasing. Yes, guys like some difficulty. And we talk about my MD Max. He always talks about what he's attracted to is that the woman kind of give him a little trouble. Even my son-in-law, I call him Sil. He's like, when he met my daughter, she was acting stank. Now she liked him, I know, because I know her, but she was trying to act stink, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a challenge. I'm a getter." And so a man always like to chase, and so you don't want to just lay down and make yourself totally accessible. Reason being that
Mhm.
you don't want to seem cheap.
Right.
You want to seem like you're worth something,
Mm-hmm.
and people work for what they're worth for. So just because a man um, doesn't want to work doesn't mean you should lay down for him. You should say, "Hey," because if you allow yourself to be sold at a penny, that's how we'll always treat you.
Amen.
Let him know you have some value.
Amen.
It's worth it to work a little bit. It's worth it to chase a little bit. I'm worth something. Can't just
Absolutely.
get me. I know I have my flaws, but you have to, in other words, you have to have a value system that men are willing to buy into
Absolutely.
if they want you. She said, I get to know them to see if they have anything and we have anything in common. Well, Patricia, there has to be some kind of attraction. It shouldn't be only physical. That's why when you say I have to be attracted to a guy,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know that it's not just the physical.
Correct.
In other words, there are some things. Is he kind?
Right.
Is he gentlemanly? And so there are things a man has to. If you're not attracted to a man, in other words, there are not things that you like about him. It's going to be a difficult task trying to hook up with that guy, especially
Absolutely.
romantically. Now,
Absolutely.
I agree with your general statement that if I'm not attracted to him, I can't let him touch me because there's no chemistry. But
Right.
the attraction is the part I had, and I never told you so because I like to give you some trouble. But the attraction part is what I have issue with If it's just going to be physical,
Mhm.
then you're selling yourself cheap.
Yes,
So
yes.
Patricia, how has that gotten you in trouble? I'll give you some time to respond, but how has that gotten you in trouble? Hey guys, we're going to take about a 1 minute break, just 60-second break, and we'll come back. This is Reality in the Raw, Uncut, Unfiltered, and Unhinged. I'm your host, Ed Lloyd, and my guest,
Still a lot.
Still a Lot. We'll be back in 60. Thank you. We're back from our break. Again, you on Reality in the Raw, Uncut, Unfiltered, and Unhinged. This is episode 6, and our topic is it going to be BOAZ or NOAZ? Are you going to be stuck with what you want and make no compromises until you get exactly what you want? We're in the studios with our fantastic guest, and we've had some fantastic guests on the show. And we in with Still a Lot, who thought she was going to have a nervous breakdown because she was so shy. But you're doing extremely well. We're talking about how much are you willing to compromise to get the man you want. There's a question by Alicia Dunlap or Isha. She said, "To what extent do the women work on those changes?" Let me tell you something. And I had a conversation with our last guest on the last show, um, uh, Arian Miller, and I have these conversations, but it's noteworthy that when we first met, she was talking about the personal changes she needed to make, and one of the things I noted was she was trying to make the change for her so that she could be a better person, so that she could be a better woman, so that she could be a more godly woman. One of the things we get in trouble is we try to make changes for the men, and men could be as fickle could be. So if you're going to make changes, you're going to make changes so that you could be the best woman that you could be for who you want to be in the future. And a man will catch that. But you don't try to change for a man. Because if you try, because people change.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of women who try to change for a man, and by the time they change, the man has now a different concept of who he wants. So the man need to be stable.
Mm.
But Alicia, if you're going to change, you're going to change into the woman that God wants you to be, not into the woman that a man wants you to be, because tomorrow he'll change and pick up somebody else. Then she, what, what, what,
And
what, what do you say about
I was
that?
going to say, and even worse is when the woman goes into the relationship expecting him to change her. So she comes in, right,
Oh
wanting to
Lord,
be
let me.
fixed or healed.
I gotta do this now. I gotta push. This is very important. I gotta push that mic up because y'all gotta hear this. Say that again.
What's worse is when the woman goes in the relationship and expects the man to change her, to fix her or heal her or make her happy.
Let me tell you something. If you're broken, you better get healed before you get into a relationship because 90% of men are not fixers. They are not healers. So you better get whole, at least to a certain extent. I'm not saying perfect, before you get into a relationship. So before you get into a relationship, you need to find out whether you're ready. Don't just jump out there in the water and you can't swim.
Mhm.
Then she asked also, can you talk a little about first impression? Yeah, I mean, first impressions, you don't want to build a relationship on first impressions. Like we always say, take some time to know the person. Don't just get into dating and into a proposal and you don't know who's proposing to you. And
Right.
through time, you get to know a lot about people. So I tell people try to be friends first. One of the things I was talking to my son-in-law at the time, he was just engaged to my daughter, and we were talking, and I said, well, y'all y'all just got engaged, just got to know each other. And he said, no, sir, we've been friends for at least a year. And he was trying to let me know I'm ready. He's ready. And so it's always good. And there's no time limit on how long you should date and how
Right.
long you should wait before you get into it. But you at least want to, and you want to be mentored and counseled because people
Absolutely.
who are married and who've been there know a little more about what's going on. But you don't want to drop your heart and give your heart away on first impression
Absolutely.
because you might be giving your heart to a second impression you haven't seen. And that second impression may not be good. And
Mhm.
first impression doesn't just mean the first day. First impression could mean a week, could mean a month, could mean 2 years, because some people don't reveal who they really are. And in fact, people don't reveal who they really are unless they're
Mhm.
under pressure. So you got to wait till you see the man under pressure, till you see him wild out a little bit. And for the men, you got to wait till you see, the Bible talk about wolf in sheep's clothing. And sometimes you don't know you might be dating a demon. People don't know. Sometimes people actually date people who are seriously demon possessed and never know till they're under pressure or till it's too late. So you want to be mentored and kind of get a sense of who the person is, not just on the first impression. Are there any more questions? So, Scylla, just
Yes.
we're going to close soon, but what have you learned today and what
Yes.
has been revealed? And tell me why today you end up a little happier with me than you've been.
Absolutely. So I've learned a lot. And just to comment on that last part you made about the mentorship, I think that is so important, especially to know if the man is willing to be mentored, because as you mentioned, we both need to make changes. And if he hasn't had practice and learning to reflect on himself and his changes, that's an issue.
Mhm.
On top of that, I think it's important to consider, as you mentioned, also who he's spending his time around, because
Ah,
we're the average of the 5 people
that's
spend the
important.
most time with. Yeah.
Who, because the quality of your life and how you live depends on who you hang out with, who you associate with, and who you allow to influence you. And so it's important, some men will, you don't need to get to know my friends or my family. Yes, I do. Because suppose you came from, a family of demons, I need to know. Because if you came from a family of demons, I need to have the power of God to be with you. Because I might have been to be.
Amen.
So you got to remember your quality of life and who you are in life depends on who you hang out with, who you associate with,
Mhm.
and who you allow to influence you. So if you're going to date, you better get to know not just the person, but you got to get to know who they hang out with, who they associate with, and who influences them. And that's important.
Absolutely. Yes. So
What have you learned about attraction and
thank you so
being
much.
attracted?
I've learned that it's not just outward, but it's also inward that can change, and that I should spend time. I shouldn't be so quick to just timestamp a person in their first impressions, but really take time to get to know them. Mentorship, right? Seek those and counsel those around me who may see more clearly areas that I maybe have put my blinders on because he didn't meet X, Y, or Z initially. And it does relieve a lot of pressure and stress off of me because, as you as you know, that's been a point of much stress for me.
And it's important that way. I'm going to answer the Jogrin. Are you implying for us to build a man? No. That's why you say he needs to have mentors because he needs to be built. He needs to be have that certain set of values. That's what Scylla was saying, and I think the last show, I think Aaliyah was saying, you don't want to have to build a man and to he should already be a man.
Absolutely.
And so the man should learn to be a man and the woman should learn to be a woman. One of the things I have to say is that it's important that women you don't just stop talking to people because they don't fit your romantic bill. Let me tell you something. My wife knows a whole lot of men and she don't stop talking to men. One could be her yard man. The other could be her garden man. The other one could do landscape. The other one gonna help her. I'm serious. She talked to everybody. And so it's important because we need to expand our circle. Not everybody you meet is going to be to fit the romantic bill. But you need to get to know people because the more men you get to know, is the more wisdom and discernment you gain about who is who. And so it's important that your idea is not, I just want to get men to date them. No, I just want to get to know men because when you know men, you know what men are like. And then you can get a little more selective and not just settle for the first one who comes. Beatrice has a question. It's tough to give a man a chance when you are not initially attracted to him. Beatrice, that's true, but that's why we say first impressions are lasting. Let me tell you something. You can get to know a lot of men, and I know a lot of women who, after a while, there's a man in their circle they know that they get attracted to. The problem is that we only want to give time and chance to who we romantically want to be involved with. No, get to know a lot of men, and you'll find out that, the man you don't want today, tomorrow he could be the best one. So, yes, it's tough to give a man a chance, but you have to be willing to get to know people beyond romantic interest. We can't see the future, so how do we know he will end up being our Boaz? You don't have to know that. You get to know that when he chooses you and you agree. But if you want to meet your Boaz, if the first man you meet, you want him to be your Boaz, then you better be his Ruth. And are you willing to fit that bill? Can you fit that bill? What should we look for initially? Initially, you should look forward to meeting people, talking to people, being friendly, being conversant. And so you can find out what you like, because you will not find everything you like in one man. That's the idea of compromise. What are you willing to compromise to get close to what you really want? And that's what life is all about. No, nobody's perfect. No situation is perfect. No church is perfect. No woman, no man is perfect. But what are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to compromise the height for the look? Are you willing to compromise the look for the values? Or are you going to compromise the values for the look and be in trouble all your life? So you got to find out the person's values, find out, how compatible you are. And compatibility is not all of it, because you have to understand where the person is going in life. Are they going to fit your future? That's more important than compatibility. Because compatibility deals with the season you're in now. But suitability deals with, is he going to suit your vision, suit your values, and suit your future? And so what you should look for initially is, can the person hold a conversation? Because, some women will tell you, man, I like that guy until he opened his mouth. And so you want to know, can he speak? Can he talk? Because some men may not look attractive physically, but when they talk, they might fit the bill that you want. Hey, this is Reality in the Raw, Uncut, Unfiltered, and Unhinged. We've come to the end of this. We were 15 minutes late. We've come to the end of this program, and we want to thank our guest, Scylla Lot, for being here. You've been a fantastic guest. We want to also thank our producers and all the people um, who not only help produce the show, but all the people who came in, asked questions, and all of those who watch it. We please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And our next Reality in the Raw is scheduled for today's the 12th.
Yes.
It's scheduled for April the 26th. That's in 2 weeks at 7 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We look forward, and you can have your questions ready. And please call into the show. Don't be shy. We're not going to destroy you. We're going to engage conversation and hope that each of you learns something and become a better person, a better individual, a better man, a better woman, a better community leader, a better student, a better child, a better parent by what we teach here. Reality in the Raw, Uncut, Unfiltered, and Unhinged. And I'm your host, the one and only Ed Lloyd Sr. Till next time, we love you, and we look forward to seeing you at 7 p.m. on April 26, 2022. Till then, see ya.